Well, Casey, it's time to pass the hat.
Let's get the hat.
We are playing HatGPT today. That is, of course, our game where we pick tech headlines out of a hat, and we discuss them, riff on them, analyze them, and then one of us says,
Stop generating. Or sometimes we say it in unison. All right, Kevin, would you like to draw the first slip from the hat, or do you just want to pick up the one off the ground that I accidentally dropped?
I'll pick up the ground one.
Okay, great.
This is more like ground GPT.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, you know, with AI systems, it's very important to ground them.
That's true. Okay.
That's an AI joke.
First item from the hat/ground. Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk mocked in hacked crosswalk recordings in Silicon Valley. So this one came to us from the San Francisco Chronicle. It also came to us via a listener to this show, Hannah Henderson, who wrote in about something that had happened down on the peninsula. That's the south part of the Bay Area, where apparently crosswalk signals on several streets were hacked, and the messages were replaced with messages mocking Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk. Videos circulated on social media capturing the satirical messages which were broadcast when pedestrians pressed the crosswalk buttons at intersections. Now, Casey, did you hear these?
I haven't, Kevin, but I believe we have a clip so that we can hear them right now.
Yes. Play the clip.
What? Hi, this is Mark Zuckerberg, but real ones call me the Zuck. You know, it's normal to feel uncomfortable or even violated as we forcefully insert AI into every facet of your conscious experience. And I just want to assure you, you don't need to worry, because there's absolutely nothing you can do to stop it. Anyway, see ya.
Wow. Kevin, I've heard of jaywalking, but jaymocking? But we really shouldn't joke about this. I heard that after he learned of this, Elon Musk had Doge shut down the Federal Department of Crosswalks. So could be a really bad outcome here.
Yes. So I assume this was just some flaw in the security features of these systems and that it will be quickly repaired. But I do think it points to a new potential source of revenue that I've been curious about for years, which is we should just have way more sponsorship of stuff. You know, like how you can sponsor a highway and you like clean it up and pay some money and you get your company's name on the little sign next to the highway. I think we should allow that for everything. Telephone poles, crosswalks, every piece of public infrastructure you should be able to sponsor. And if you hit the button across the sidewalk, it should say, "I'm Jack Black. Go see the Minecraft movie. Now cross the street."
I'm trying to think if you've had a worse idea than this, but I'm coming up empty. Stop generating.
Okay.
All right. This next story, Kevin. Cuomo announces new housing plan with a hint of ChatGPT. The local New York news site Hellgate first reported that the former New York governor and current New York City mayoral candidate Andrew Cuomo had released a 29-page housing plan that featured several nonsensical statements and a ChatGPT-generated link to a news article raising questions about whether the campaign had used ChatGPT to write its housing plan.
Yes, I love this story because it is not only a case of AI usage run amok in the government, but it is also a case of people being caught out by the UTM code. Because, Casey, do you know what a UTM code is?
UTM code is a piece of text that you can append to the end of a URL that often will tell you, for example, what site is referring you to the next site from.
Exactly. So my understanding of how this all went down is that Cuomo put up his housing plan and reporters started going through it, and one of these reporters at Hellgate noticed that on one of the links in the plan, there was the little UTM code at the end that said that the source of that article had been from chatgpt.com. That's how they were able to start piecing together the fact that maybe the Cuomo campaign had ChatGPT help them write this.
Well, that is some really impressive sleuthing. But, Kevin, I think there was actually an easier way to realize that ChatGPT had written this housing plan, which is that it had 6 fingers. Now, some follow-up reporting from the Times. Dana Rubenstein revealed that the report was written up by policy advisor Paul Francis, who said that he relies on voice recognition software after having had his left arm amputated in 2012. He told the Times, "It's very hard to type with one hand, so I dictate, and what happens when you dictate is that sometimes things get garbled." He acknowledged using ChatGPT to do research, but said, quote, "It clearly was not a writing tool." A campaign spokesman argued that the housing plan wasn't written by ChatGPT, saying if it was written by ChatGPT, we wouldn't have had the errors.
Which I love. It's like, look at all the errors. This has to have been done by a human because the AI is smarter than that.
Yeah, well, any way you slice it, a really hard story for all the Cuomo-sexuals still out there. Remember Cuomo-sexuals from the pandemic?
Stop generating!
Okay.
That's triggering my PTSD. Okay. Next story. Oh, this is a good one. Dolphin Gemma, how Google AI is helping decode dolphin communication. On Monday, Google announced on their blog that in collaboration with researchers at Georgia Tech and the field research of the Wild Dolphin Project, they were announcing progress on Dolphin Gemma, a foundational AI model trained to learn the structure of dolphin vocalizations and generate novel dolphin-like sound sequences. Casey, have you used Dolphin Gemma to communicate with any dolphins yet?
You know, I haven't, and here's why. I don't think it's any of my business what the dolphins are saying. How would you feel if some alien civilization just came in and decoded your language and analyzed all your thoughts? I don't think you'd like it very much. So maybe some of these Google researchers ought to mind their own business, Kevin.
Yeah, I like this. I like the use of AI to communicate with animals. Seems like a very good use of this technology. And it's also just wild that using the same techniques that got you these large language models can also maybe help us start to decode the utterances of other species. And I actually did use Dolphin Gemma to talk with the dolphin the other day. You know what it told me?
What did it tell you?
It said, "I've been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty." And I said, "That's enough out of you."
Here's the best part about releasing a tool and telling people that it's going to help decode dolphin language. If you're wrong, how are they going to know? You'd be like, I don't think a dolphin would say that. All right, stop generating.
Okay, you're on the next one.
Okay, next one. Oh my God, truly my favorite story of the entire week. The U.S. Secretary of Education referred to AI as A1, like the steak sauce. From TechCrunch, U.S. Secretary of Education and former World Wrestling Entertainment executive Linda McMahon attended the ASU plus GSV Summit this week, where experts in education and technology gathered to discuss how AI will impact learning. While speaking on a panel about AI in the workforce, McMahon repeatedly referred to AI as A1, like the steak sauce. Now, Kevin, you have to admit, that's a very rare way of pronouncing AI.
Well done.
I thought it was only medium. Now, do we actually have a clip of Linda saying this?
Let's play it.
I call her Linda.
I think it was a letter or a report that I heard this morning. I wish I could remember the source, but that there is a school system that's going to start making sure that first graders or even pre-Ks have A1 teaching, every year starting, that far down in the grades. And that's just that's a wonderful thing. Kids are sponges. They just absorb everything. And so it wasn't all that long ago that we're going to have internet in our schools. Woo! Now, okay, let's see A1 and how can that be helpful? How can it be helpful in one-on-one instruction?
Now, if your child is absorbing A1, you may want to take them to the hospital.
Casey, we are so cooked. This is the Secretary of Education saying that we need more A1 in our schools. I did love the A1 steak sauce brand's corporate response to this. Usually not a big fan of the corporate, internet personalities.
Yeah.
But this one, they did actually post an Instagram post, the A1 steak sauce company, and they said, we agree, it's best to start them early.
Yeah, big day for them. I can't wait to find out that, A1 donated $25 million to the inauguration before this little, quote, accident. But look, this is the sort of story that makes you wonder, maybe we should actually have a Department of Education. Maybe it should educate people. Maybe it should even educate the people running the Department of Education.
It really just underscores the stakes of AI.
Really high stakes conversation. All right, go, stop generating.
Okay. Next one. How Japan built a 3D printed train station in 6 hours. This one comes to us from the New York Times. Apparently, In 6 hours recently, workers in rural Japan built an entirely new train station. This station will replace a significantly bigger wooden structure that has served commuters in this remote community for over 75 years. The new station's components were 3D printed off-site over a 7-day period and assembled just over 100 square feet are the measurements of this new station. It is expected to be open for use in July. Casey, what do you think of the 3D printed train station in Japan that was built in just 6 hours?
Well, if they built it in 6 hours, why do I have to wait until July to use it? That's my main question. What do you think?
I like this. I like the idea of 3D printing housing. Obviously, you know, our friends and colleagues, Ezra Klein and Derek Thompson, have their new Abundance book out talking about how we need to build new houses in this country. And we should say, like, you know, I think the sort of 3D printing housing thing has not been totally successful in America, but the technology is there. I think we should start 3D printing houses. I think we should 3D print ourselves a new studio.
Sure. I mean, it's worth a shot. Here's what I like about this story. You know, you read about countries doing things like this, and I feel like this is the sort of thing that Doge is convincing us that it's trying to do. You know, it's like, we're going to make things so efficient, you know? And in my view of that, they would be like, oh, well, you're going to like build new public infrastructure really quickly. But instead, it's just like, well, we've replaced your local Social Security office with a phone number that no one answers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, good job, Japan.
Good job, Japan.
Advantage, Japan.
Yeah.
Is there one left, or is that it?
There's one more.
All right, Kevin. And now the final slip in the hat. One giant stunt for womankind. This is such a fun essay by Amanda Hess in the Times. I recommend everyone go read it. This was, of course, about Blue Origin's all-women spaceflight this week when some very famous women very briefly went up into the sort of, I guess you'd call it like the outer reaches of the atmosphere. And Amanda writes, quote, if an all-women spaceflight were chartered by, say, NASA, it might represent the culmination of many decades of serious investment in female astronauts. An all-women Blue Origin spaceflight signifies only that several women have amassed the social capital to be friends with Lauren Sanchez. Lauren Sanchez, of course, Jeff Bezos' fiancé, Jeff Bezos, the guy that created Blue Origin. So, Kevin, what did you make of this spaceflight?
I mean, I think it's an amazing publicity stunt for Blue Origin, which I had not thought of for more than about 5 minutes until this week when Katy Perry and Gayle King and all of these famous women were thrust up into orbit in one of these Blue Origin rockets, and they got some good publicity out of it. What did you make of it?
Well, you know, as a gay man, I'm always very interested in what Katy Perry is doing. And so when I found out she was going to space, I thought this could be good. And indeed, Kevin, when she got up, she told us in advance that she was going to make an announcement. And then she got up into space and the live stream cut out. And so I think we're still trying to find out what that announcement is. But we may actually have a clip of exactly when the live stream cut out.
Let's play it.
Katy Perry did say that she was going to sing in space. I'm waiting for it.
Waiting for it.
1 minute warning. 1 minute warning.
So that is Capcom indicating a 1 minute warning for our astronauts to take in those last views before they get buckled back into their seats.
Now, according to several other passengers on the trip, Katy Perry did indeed break out into song, singing "What a Wonderful World" before returning. And when she got back to Earth, she kissed the ground. What did you make of that?
I'm still reeling from that clip. That's the best Katy Perry has sounded in years. She may just want to release that. Forget What a Wonderful World. What did we just hear? That was great. Very avant-garde.
Now, Casey, would you go to space if Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk offered you a spot on one of their rockets?
No, if Elon Musk offers you a spot on a rocket, that's giving Bond supervillain. I will not be. I'm barely getting into Teslas at this point. How about you?
What about Blue Origin? Would you take one of their flights?
I mean, under the right circumstances, I'm space curious. You have to admit, it would be a great story to tell, even if you only go up for, a few minutes.
Yeah.
It could be a great story.
Yeah, totally. And you get to, like, wear that valor for the rest of your life. You're always an astronaut. You go up for 10 minutes. I mean, this was a fairly short flight. My understanding is, they didn't have to, like, do any maintenance of the craft. It was just sort of like they were just there for the ride.
No, well, I think once Katy Perry started singing, people started looking around saying, we got to get this thing back on the ground. I really can't deal with that much of this.
No, I want to go to space, and I'll tell you why.
Why is that?
Because I once read that you actually become taller in space. Ooh. You can grow as much as a couple inches just because your spine elongates in the zero gravity environment. I'm 5'10", Casey. I've always wanted to be 6 feet. So I think going to space could get me there. And for that reason, I'll go up.
Well, you know, if we went up together, we'd come down and you'd be 6 feet and I would be 6'7".
Yeah, which would be terrifying.
Then I'd have an even harder time finding pants. Anyway, that's what's going on in space. Now, actually, one more question.
Yeah.
If you were an alien civilization and you found out that the United States had launched Katy Perry at you, would you consider that an act of aggression?
Yes, and I hope this starts an international incident where like the Soviet Union will start sending up its pop stars. Mm-hmm. Does the Soviet Union still exist? Whatever happened to them?
I've been meaning to ask. And that's HatGPT. Hats off to you, newsmakers. And we can assure, actually, people will be curious. I can assure you, no A1 was used in the making of this segment. Hey, that's the end of this clip. If you liked what you saw, head on over to our page and subscribe, and you can get the full podcast. We do a show like this almost every week on tech and the future. Head on over there now and subscribe.